jump into chapter 5 tonight. And we'll do chapter 5 and 6. Again, have your notepads ready. We probably won't do any quizzes tonight just because we're going to run through 5 and 6. But we'll come back together Monday and we will finish this portion up. All right, so let me share my screen here with you. Okay, so chapter 5, let's go ahead and jump on into this. Some terminology we need to know. Let's see this, okay. The word appointment. So Danielle, appointment means that a person is giving authorization to write business for that insurance company. The word appointment is something that you can have. An appointment is authorization where you can write insurance for one company or multiple companies. If you're going to write an appointment for multiple companies, you need multiple appointments. Word cease and desist, that means it's to stop or discontinue whatever you're doing. Commissions, that is the money that's paid to an insurance agent for their policy that they write. Exempt, that means they're not subject to or obligations. Home office, obviously that's the insurance company's home office. Inducements, we're going to come into that where you influence one party. Insolvent is unable to meet financial obligations. So generally, you're going to go out of business if you go insolvent. Reciprocity, a mutual exchange in between rights and privileges. Statute, a formal written law that is enacted by legislation. Insurance statutes can be found in the state code and subpoena. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into this this process right here. I'm going to zoom through the okay, yeah. All right, so let's talk about an insurance transaction. Idalia, an insurance transaction is when an agent is either soliciting, they're negotiating, they're doing a presentation, they're giving advice on insurance. You can only do an insurance transaction if you're licensed, okay? Those right there are considered insurance transactions. If you're giving someone information on their policy, that is not a transaction. That is just doing admin work. You might see that on the exam. An insurance contract, Derek, is an agreement between a policy owner and the insurer. This is when an insurer agrees for a consideration to indemnify the insured's loss caused by specified events. That's just the definition of insurance. The word insurer, also known as the principal, is the company or organization that issues the policy. So if you work for Northwestern Mutual, New York Life, Allstate, State Farm, any of these other companies, those would be the insurer, the principal, because those are the ones you're writing business for. Insurance company can be classified in a variety of ways based on ownership, authority to transact business, location. All right, so there's 3 types of authorized users, authorized people who can sell insurance. They're always based off a location. Derek, the first one is a domestic insurer. This is a person who is the insurance company is incorporated in this state. So that means their headquarters is in this state. So our company's headquarters is in Georgia. So our company, the domestic version of our company would be Georgia. If you write business outside of Georgia, that means you are known as a foreign insurer. So if you write business in Florida, we're known as our company is, since it's writing business in another state, that would be known as a foreign insurer. So what you want to write down is domestic is the state that the company is incorporated in. Foreign is another state. So write another state. And then alien would be another country. Way I always look at alien, illegal alien. Think of another person coming from another country. So if your company is licensed to do business in Canada, that would be an alien insurer. So domestic is the state that you live in or that your company lives in. Foreign is going to be another state. Alien is going to be another country. Okay, let's talk about the two types of ownerships in a policy. You have stock companies and then you have mutual companies. Stock companies are owned by stockholders who provide a capital necessary to establish and operate business in that company, in that state. What I want you to write is stock companies are owned by the stockholders. And then write stock companies issue non-participating policies. We're going to dive into what non-participating and participating policies are. All right. So a non-participating policy or a stock company does not pay dividends to the policy owners. However, taxable dividends are paid to the stockholders. The dividends are not guaranteed and based off of company profits. So I mentioned to you earlier in the chapters that dividends are a return of premium. But now these are dividends that are actually invested into the market. This is an actual company that takes ownership, and they're like the company. I'm sorry, the policy holders have equity in the companies. So when the company is profitable, they share the dividends, and those dividends are taxable. So just make sure you know how to differentiate those two. That the dividends are taxable if they come from a stock company or stock company. Mutual companies are owned by policy owners and issue participating policies. So with participating policy owners are entitled to dividends, which in case the mutual companies are giving a return of excess premium and therefore not taxable. So most insurance companies are mutual companies. Again, the one thing about these is dividends are not guaranteed, and dividends are not guaranteed. Any questions on stock companies and mutual companies? No? Okay. A fraternal benefit society. What you want to do is write this. A fraternal benefit society is an organization that is formed to provide insurance to its members of an affiliated lodge. You remember how we read earlier that you cannot start a company only for the basis of getting insurance? In this situation, a fraternal benefit society is formed to provide benefits for its members. I don't know how they get away with it, how that really happens, but that's what you need to know. They are not subject to regulations that apply to insurers that offer coverage to the public. So this is generally going to be private insurance. All right, so Fraternal Benefit Society is an organization formed to provide insurance benefits to its members of an affiliated lodge. Okay, let's talk about authorized versus unauthorized. Authorized versus unauthorized. It just means, do you have permission to write business? And authorized is going to be talking about the insurance company. So does the insurance company have permission legally to do business in that state? So what happens is when you get licensed to do business in that state, you are issued what is called a certificate of authority from the Department of Insurance. This means that you've met the capital requirements. This means you don't have any, you're not a liability, and you're a stable company. So in that example, you would be a authorized or admitted legal in the state to do that. Now, there are those insurers who have not been approved to do business in the state are considered unauthorized or non-admitted. Or in our country, they would call them non-documented people. You'll get that one later, Lindsay. You get that one. So, unauthorized, non-admitted. You are not admitted to do business in the state. Now, what happens is this. Most states have laws that prohibit unauthorized users from conducting business in the state, except through licensed excess and surplus lines of brokers. If you happen to actually do this, I don't know how they get away with it, but it's an unlicensed entity. So an entity that is required to be licensed and registered with the state of Florida and regulations, but that the operating without a proper authorization is identified as an authorized insurer. All persons are responsible for conducting reasonable research to ensure that they are not writing policies or placing policies with an unauthorized insurer. It's right here. Under Florida law, it can be a third-degree felony and held liable for any unpaid claims and refund any premiums. So what happens is if you happen to do business in a whole other state and for whatever reason a claim doesn't get paid, that insurance company is liable. So that's something that is good to know. All right. So there is a little graph here that you can write. I think this is actually pretty cool to write down. Whether you write it now or whether you come back into it. This right here, it says in the insurance companies is how it's defined. Ownership, meaning the type of policies, and they break it down based off of stock and mutual. Domicile, meaning in what location would it describe? How is that business done? Domestic, foreign, or alien. And then authorized, does this person have authorization or non-authorization? I think it's pretty cool for you to have that. All right, last part of this is called reinsurance. So reinsurance is a contract in which one insurance company indemnifies another insurance company for part of the liabilities. This simply means that ABC company buys some of the risk from XYZ company. If you ever look at insurance companies, their stock holdings, you'll realize that a lot of other insurance companies invest in other insurance company stock. Because they know where the money's at. So the reinsurance is when one insurance company indemnifies another insurance company by owning part of his liabilities. The purpose of reinsurance is to protect against a catastrophic loss. The originating company that procures insurance to itself from another insurer is called succeeding insurer. Okay. You want to write this down. That right there is a definition you'll see. The originating company that procures insurance from another insurer is called a succeeding company or setting company. Because it's what the freak if I can read. Or it gives the risk to the reinsurer. The other insurer is also assuming the risk of the reinsurer. Just to clarify this, reinsurance is when another insurance company buys some of the risk from another insurance company. The originating company that procures the insurance for itself from another insurer is called ceding insurer. It's just a definition you're going to need to know. All right. Am I good to move on to the next piece?
Hey, Miguel.
Yep.
I'm just letting you know, I'm still following you, but because I'm in Georgia, some of the stuff you're going over is different. But I'm noticing some of it is the same. So I'm just letting you know, I'm with you.
Gotcha.
So if I keep looking back and forth, because I got double screens, so I'm just trying to make sure I'm keeping up with where you are.
Good to know that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's go on to B part. Financial services regulations. Most of this right here will apply to your states if you are studying in another state, but for the sake of this, let's look at it. So financial services, So who determines the responsibilities is the Department of Financial Services. A lot of this, guys, again, like I've told you, you're gonna have to come back and read yourself because it's just definitions. You're gonna have to just come back and read this. The department consists of 15 divisions, all these bureaus. Let's talk about the financial services commissions. This is composed by the governor, the attorney general, and chief financial officer. They are regulating the entire insurance departments, the one who makes forgive me. They are the one who makes all the rules, regulates the financial regulations. I'm trying not to bore you with this, but there's certain things you need to know. Chief financial officer, make sure you have a note, come back and read that. The chief financial officer, that is the one, the financial services commissions and the commissioners of regular insurance. Chief financial officer is independently elected and serves as the head of the financial services commissions. They oversee all 15 divisions. You're not going to be tested in detail on every last one of these departments, but you need to have an idea of what each one does. So again, you can come back here and just take a note of this. The more you read it, this is very simple. The Department of Financial Services. All right, the Department of Financial Services, let's go through here. The Division of Consumer responds to complaints by consumers. The division is under direct supervision of the Chief Financial Officer. Unclaimed property, to file claims as a claimant representative, acquire ownership or entitled to an unclaimed property and receives distributions of fees, costs from the department, private investigators, certified public accountants, attorney licensed to practice in the state, and must register with the Department of Bureau's claimed property. Again, there's nothing, this is really not much I can teach you here. You guys seeing that? You just got to come and read this. It's this is the part that is boring. Insurers, anti-fraud insurers are required to file the part of, yep. You guys are just gonna have to come back and read this. This is just straight, get an idea of how it operates. Let's go. Office of Insurance Regulations. Let me just see here. A good rule of thumb when you're going through these tests and you see the questions and it gives you like a certain amount of years or days, generally 30 days is probably the best answer to go with. This is which of the following is such and such days. Go with 30 days. Let's just see what this is. Market conduct examination and investigation of insurers. The CFO and Office of Insurance Regulations have the right to examine the affairs of every person or entity authorized to transact insurance in this state. Examinations must be conducted at least once every 5 years, as frequently by the appropriate office. In lieu of the examination of foreign alien insurers, the office may accept examination reports from accredited departments. What is this talking about? Cease and desist. Because the department is enforced laws and is to protect the public from unfair trade practice, if the department officer suspects that an insurer or a license has committed a violation of states, cease and desist. Okay. Okay, so this one right here, policy approval rates. Generally, if you're going to use a form, like if your insurance company changes a form, Tanisha, in your state, like it could be a monthly bank draft form. Those always have to get approved. Doesn't matter what form it is. And that generally has a 30-day window At the end of the 30-day window, the forms are deemed approved unless disapproved by the office. Try not to bore you with reading just paragraphs for you guys. We talked about this. An agent, they are representing the insurance company. Their job is to make sure that they are doing the right thing by the insurance company. Agencies. Yes, just come back. I got to come back and read this. License requirements. Let's just see this. Okay. So what does it take to get a license? You got to be 18 or older, legal citizen. If you're a resident of whatever state, you have to be a resident of that state that you're applying for a resident license in. Doesn't matter if it's Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, doesn't matter. So in the state of Florida, the person cannot be an employee of the Department of Veterans Affairs. That might not be true for every state. I filled out paperwork and it doesn't always ask that question. Derek, you cannot be a funeral home director. You can't work at a funeral home and be selling insurance. I don't know why. Who don't want to double dip? Right? Okay. You have to complete the pre-licensing class, which is what we're doing here now. It's 30 hours. You have to be, the class is 30 hours. It generally probably won't take you 30 hours, but if you were to do this class in person, it would be legit 30 hours of studying. You can take your exam 5 times in a year. License transferred. If you go from one state to another, you can transfer your license. In certain states, you can get a temporary license for a maximum of 6 months. All you have to do is complete your licensing class. Not every state offers a temporary license, though.
I have a question, Miguel.
Who's that?
For the test taking portion, do they have like a time window that you have to wait in between test retakes?
No. You could do it. You could do it. Honestly, if you could schedule it, you could probably get back in there the next day. But good question, but we're not going to have that. We're not going to have to do that because you're going to pass the first try. But if you don't pass the first try, we'll get you back in there. So exempting for licenses, do not receive any commissions. Okay, this just says you can't receive commissions for without your stuff. Maintaining your license. Okay, you do need to know this. Every year you must, or every 2 years, you must complete 24 hours of continuing education. Every 2 years, 24 hours. And of that 24 hours, you must do 4 hours of laws and ethics. You want to write that down. You're absolutely going to need to know that. And the continuing education class is nothing more than just like this right here. You go through a bunch of modules, answer your questions, have a open book test at the end. And then you have ChatGPT open up on the other side. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy. It's cheat code. Just throwing it out there. Not telling you I've ever done it, by the way. I just heard it. I just heard about it. If you need an extension for continuing education, it doesn't happen usually. But if you need an extension, you can do it up to 12 months, up to a year. Like if somebody's in the military and they're out on deployment, all they got to do is let the insurance company or the Department of Insurance know, and they'll extend their license. Non-resident CE. For most states, if you do your CE for your state, they'll generally count that for all the other state licenses. So you don't have to do 24 hours for each state. I know Florida, we're what is known as a hot state. So most of the stuff here will apply to most states. Except for New York. New York is a different animal. They're like their own country. To renew or reinstate a license, you must always complete your education. The department may not issue a new appointment of your similar license until your continuing education is done. Every license must notify within 30 days. of a name change, residence address, principal change, business address. If you don't do this, you will see this on the exam. Easy questions to get right. The first time you mess up is a maximum of $250 for the first offense. And then second offenses or more is 500 or more plus revocation of your license suspension. So you want to know that if you move your address, change your name, whatever, for whatever reason, just update them. And you go for them. If you happen to get into some type of criminal problem, you must notify the Department of Insurance within 30 days after being found guilty or however you plead. Always 30 days. Just kind of go with 30 days as a good rule. Okay, appointments. So when you see the word appointment, it doesn't mean like you set an appointment with somebody. An appointment is an authorization for you to do business with a person or with an insurance company. If you're going to write insurance company or insurance policies for multiple companies, you need multiple appointments. So you need an appointment at each company. An appointment is never transferable, so you can't